Thank you very much, Madam President. At this time, could we take up the controversial reading of calendar number 57B?
Secretary will proceed with the reading of the controversial calendar 57B.
Calendar number 1576 by Senator Golden, Senate Print 1958C, enacting
Senator-
the tax law.
Before we do that, Madam President, we just ring the bells to let members know that we're going to be voting very shortly.
Secretary will ring the bells and ask all the members to please return to the chamber. Senator Golden, an explanation has been requested.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the CMSA, the Cigarette Marketing Standard Act, where we are adding 7 cents to a pack of cigarettes here in the state of New York. 3 cents will go to the stamping agent, the wholesaler, and 4 cents will go to an enforcement account that will be controlled by the controller and the governor of the state of New York to go after the counterfeit cigarettes that are up and down the state of New York. I don't have to tell anybody here. Several weeks ago, you've seen a Palestinian cell that was arrested, 16 of them, from Virginia up through New York. I personally know some of the investigators that were on that case. There were millions and millions of dollars stacked in these homes. They confiscated them in Maryland and Virginia, and here in New York City, in Brooklyn and Bay Ridge, we took several of those members were arrested, and their homes were entered, and evidence was taken. Those 16 individuals were arrested because of the Attorney General in the state of New York here and because of the feds. If we were to walk into any number of stores across Brooklyn, Queens, pick any one of them, after 5 o'clock at night, you'll find that many of these stores are selling counterfeit cigarettes. So these 4 cents a pack would allow us to go after them by setting up this fund. Just to give you an idea, several years ago, not too long, 2007-8, when we put this tax into effect on the cartons of cigarettes, we were doing 42 million cartons of cigarettes in the city of New York. Today, we sell 7 million cartons of cigarettes in the city of New York. I know a lot of people stop smoking, but I think realistically we know that there's a lot of counterfeit cigarettes going into the city and into the state of New York. Also, that there's about 7 to 8 companies here in the state of New York that do the wholesale and deliver these cigarettes. That's about 2,000 jobs, Teamster jobs here in the state of New York. We are trying to maintain that industry here in the state of New York, and it's becoming more and more difficult. This is agreed upon with the governor and with the assembly, and hopefully I can get the support of my colleagues here to move this bill.
Senator Kruger.
Through you, Madam President, if the sponsor would yield to some questions.
Senator Golden, do you yield?
Yes, I do, Madam President.
Senator
Thank
Golden
you.
yields.
I have to say, I think it was because there were many different versions of the bill with the math continually changing. So we were up to almost 17 cents in one of the versions, but now we're down to a new 4 cents per pack. Is that correct?
It's 7 cents, 4 cents for enforcement, 3 cents to the taxing agent.
Through you, Madam President, if the sponsor would continue to yield.
Senator Golden, do you continue to yield?
I do, Mr. President.
Senator Golden yields.
So without this law, the stamping agents get 2 cents per pack, but with this law, they net 5 cents per pack. Am I correct?
That's correct. The last time they got a raise is about 1996. They got 2 cents a pack of cigarettes for the handling fee. So it's the cost of doing business over the last number of years. I don't have to tell you. I don't know what the last time we got a raise here in the state senate, but that goes back to about 1999 again. It's a long time, Senator.
Through you, Madam President, the sponsor would continue to yield.
Senator Golden?
I do, Ms. President.
All right, so they're going from 2 cents to 5 cents being paid per pack. Are they doing anything new for that money? What's going on that's different, that they jump that high?
Pardon me, could you please have Senator Kruger repeat the question?
Senator Kruger, could you please repeat
Certainly.
the question?
So my understanding is they go from being paid 2 cents per pack to 5 cents per pack. which is estimated, I believe, to be net $10 million in new revenue for these companies. What additional things are they doing since they're going to be paid all this additional money?
Well, I do believe that over the last number of years, we've seen the price of Con Edison, gas, electric, telephone. We've seen the cost of jobs, the pensions, health benefits. We've seen that go up. We've seen the price of gasoline, the price of maintaining a fleet of trucks, the maintenance of buildings. That's all increased much more than the dollars that we're asking for here, Madam President.
Through you, Mr. President. Oh, excuse me. Through you, Madam President, if the sponsor would continue to yield.
Senator Golden, do you continue to yield?
I do, Madam President.
Thank you. So before I said that I thought this was $10 million of new revenue to them, but then I have some other notes that lead me to believe it's actually $13 million in new money to them because of the way the monies are paid and the stamping agencies getting a float on the money the way it comes in and goes out. So would the sponsor agree that, in fact, the money generated for the stamping agents is an additional $13 million if this law goes through?
No, Madam President, I do not. I believe that there is notes in the bill that show that the 4 cents a pack of cigarettes will garner somewhere around $6 million for the enforcement piece of this legislation. But I will tell you that a number of these companies have left and closed the state of New York because they cannot afford to do business. We have North Carolina that is after one of the companies in Long Island that has between 400 to 500 employees. That's just one of the several companies that are still left here collecting this tax. They collect about $2 billion in taxes for the state of New York. They're a bonding agent and collect that money for the state of New York. And we're losing those jobs and those businesses. So the increase is needed so that those companies can stay and do business. We talk about economic development. Economic development is very important, picking up new jobs, but we have to find a way of keeping and maintaining the jobs that we have here, and that, I think, goes a long way in doing that, Madam President.
Through you, Madam President, the sponsor would continue to yield.
Senator Golden, do you continue to yield?
I do, Madam President.
He yields.
I appreciate the sponsor highlighting that there are companies who are talking about leaving New York and that there are companies in other states. My understanding is that actually quite a few of these wholesale stamping agents are based in Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Vermont, Connecticut, and Maine. So is there a way for us to ensure that this new money actually goes to New York workers rather than outsourcing this business?
The object of the game here, Madam President, is to make sure that we maintain the companies that we have here in the state of New York. As I said, we have lost many of these companies because it is impossible for them to compete with the cost of doing business here. So this would allow those companies to stay, not to allow for this increase to go to these companies. We can be pretty sure that those companies will go to North Carolina, they will go to New Jersey and to Vermont and to Pennsylvania because they won't be able to do business here. And we will lose those 2,000 jobs that were New York jobs. Somebody else will get them, but New York will not have them. So I think it's an important piece of legislation to keep those jobs here, to keep that economic development here, and by putting that 4 cents onto the portion that the counterfeit cigarettes, we're actually going to go after the bad guys and actually get cigarettes, the money that's now being avoided, actually new money's coming in because of the enforcement piece, so that we'll actually pick up sales tax coming in and cigarette tax coming into the state of New York.
Question through you, if the sponsor would continue to yield.
Senator Golden, do you continue to yield?
I do, Madam President.
So I'll bring his attention to Section 5 of his bill. There is hereby appropriated to the Division of State Police the amount of $6 million from the cigarette tax enforcement account to support cigarette tax enforcement activities. And no money, I skipped a section, no money shall be available from this appropriation absent a certificate of allocation from the director of the budget. Is this require the state of New York to come up with $6 million out of our budget for this?
There's no transfer language.
There's no transfer language, so I'm confused.
President, if I understand the question correctly, is the $6 million, what is that $6 million and how is it going to be utilized? That $6 million is the money that we will collect on the 4 cents on the pack of cigarettes that will be used for the enforcement, and that's the money we will take in this year and put that money towards enforcement, that $6 million.
Through you, Madam President, if the sponsor would continue to yield.
Yes, Madam President.
So we are asking budget to advance money that then we anticipate getting back from this fund at a later date. Is that correct?
Madam President, that's not what I said. This is this is an allocation that allows us to spend the money that comes in from the enforcement of those cigarettes.
Madam President, if the sponsor would continue to yield.
Senator Golden?
Yes, Madam President.
Senator Golden yields.
Thank you. So perhaps, as I understand it, the enforcement doesn't start to happen until the fund fills up with the $6 million, which could then perhaps be next year, not in this year. Am I understanding that right?
President, the money will be coming in on a steady. Cigarettes are sold and bought each and every day. That money is turned over to the state, and that money will be utilized as the money comes in. And I think, again, it's an important piece of this legislation that we go after the counterfeit cigarettes. There's nobody out there going after it. We have 17 deputy sheriffs that have been assigned across the state of New York to collect and go in to check to see on counterfeit cigarettes. That is not enough people in a state of this size to have 19 million people to have 17 sheriffs doing this. We need more, and this would allow them that money to do that.
Madam President, if the sponsor would continue to yield.
Senator Golden, do you yield?
Yes, certainly, Madam President.
Senator Golden yields.
So this would provide new money for enforcement from a new division. What would happen to the revenue the state now gives to Tax and Finance for the enforcement that they are doing? It may be inadequate, but are we getting that money back? Or is this going to have two different systems, the new enforcement fund system and then the funds Tax and Finance currently have and use through the existing system, which I respect the sponsor thinks is inadequate?
Madam President, nothing's going to change. This is just going to be an added tool.
Good.
Could continue to yield, please.
Senator
Certainly,
Golden.
Madam President.
So the new unit would in fact be the old unit with more money in it available?
Where did you get the estimate of the $6 million? Did DOB provide that estimate?
Utilized by the state police. They will assign people to that. The unit that to go out and do other work, as this unit will be assigned to go out and collect the tax dollars on those counterfeit cigarettes and to arrest the people that are circulating those counterfeit cigarettes.
Madam President, the sponsor will continue to yield.
Yes, Madam President.
Senator Golden yields.
Thank you. Am I right in my recollections that this was attempted as a proposal in the budget but was rejected? And could I ask why it was rejected as a proposed section of the budget a few months ago?
As I said in my statement, this is an agreed upon with Finance, with the Governor of the State of New York, and with the Assembly. So this is agreed upon.
Through you, Madam President, we've been here for many days. Do we know if it's passed the Assembly? Excuse me, through you, Madam President, does the sponsor know if this has passed the Assembly?
Senator Golden?
Madam President, the Assembly is waiting with bated breath for this bill so that they can pass it. It is high in the Assembly.
Madam President, I speak on the bill. I will speak on the bill.
Senator Kruger on the bill.
Thank you. I want to thank Senator Golden for his answers to my questions. I think it is a complicated bill, if not a complicated issue. Raises all kinds of questions about, do we have the right system of stamping cigarettes in the first place, since we haven't changed it in 40 years? We haven't changed it in 40 years. I agree with my colleague that there is a serious problem with black market cigarettes, people violating our laws. There is enormous confusion over the process by which who can buy cigarettes and who cannot on Native American reservations in this state. There is confusion over where do cigarettes come from. I know in New York City, and I know that my colleague knows this also, we have a real problem with both counterfeit cigarettes coming by boat, so they are advertised as one cigarette, but they're not actually that brand. We have a problem of cigarettes sneaking in that might actually not be counterfeit, but they are not being taxed. We have trucks coming across the borders and selling them out of the back of the truck for lower costs. And truthfully, I actually think anything that increases the price of cigarettes probably is good because it discourages people from smoking. But I'm also concerned that we are increasing a payment to a specific group of companies that may not even be here in New York, but we're not actually getting to the heart of the problems we're facing. Although it's hard for me to argue against wanting more enforcement available to work on the issue. And yet it's not clear to me how this bill gets us there. So in fact, if it passes both houses and the governor signs it, I look forward to seeing what worked and what didn't work in the future, because I think we will need to go further and perhaps in a different direction. But for now, not sure that we're not just ensuring certain companies get a lot more money without necessarily doing that much to help address the fundamental problems we're having in our state. So I will be voting no, with the appreciation to the sponsor for giving me the time to try to help me understand the bill better. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Kruger to be recorded in the negative. Ring the bells. Ready? Read the last section.
Section 6, this act shall take effect September 1st.
Call the roll.
Adams, DeFrancisco, Libous, Klein, Skello, Stewart, Cousins, Zeldin.
Senator Skelos.
If I could explain my vote, I'm going to be supportive of this legislation because of the fact that it establishes a cigarette tax enforcement act, which I believe is critically important for a number of reasons. Number one, over the years, we've had many conversations in this chamber about illegal cigarettes, untaxed cigarettes that come into this state or are distributed through this state. The state of New York loses hundreds of millions of dollars every year on tax revenues because of these bootleg cigarettes. The money that will go to this enforcement account is intended, as Senator Golden indicated, to beef up the police that are necessary in order to enforce the laws of the state of New York and to collect these revenues. There's also been many studies lately that much of this money that's coming in from bootleg cigarettes goes directly to those who commit terrorism in our city, our state, and our country. Therefore, Madam President, I will be supporting this legislation.
Senator Skelos, to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results. Senator Zeldin to explain his vote.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time studying this particular issue. We have a distributor on Long Island. And the fact is that the cost to do business right now has just gone up one year after another year. And when you have a distributor who's paying $70,000 a month in energy taxes, and the property taxes, and the health care costs, and the insurance costs, with all of the costs to do business, I don't know why there's a problem with making a profit in New York State. You know what we're doing? We're chasing out all of the distributors. They're leaving New York, and they're going to other states because they can't afford to do business here. So when the state of Kentucky tries to get this Long Island distributor, and they're offering all of the, they're not paying property taxes, they're paying for the move down, they're selling their building for them here in New York, all the right incentives to move our businesses out of state. What kind of a message are we sending to our own distributors who one after another are leaving with hundreds of jobs at a time? So 2 cents, while the cost of doing business has gone up and gone up and gone up, why is government telling that distributor they can't make a profit? We're choking them and chasing them out of this state. It sends a wrong message to businesses in New York State. It sends a wrong message to our distributors. And it's a really bad precedent. We're losing jobs. This is not a tax from the state. This is allowing the distributors to charge 5 cents, to receive 5 cents handling fee instead of 2 cent handling fee. I would strongly encourage my colleagues to consider what we are doing to distributors right now in the state of New York. They're leaving our state, and this is only going to contribute to it. We're losing jobs if we do not do this legislation. I've studied this issue a lot. We are going to lose jobs if we don't do this bill.
Senator Zeldin to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Those recorded in the negative on calendar 1576, Senators Adams, Avella, Ball, Breslin, Espaillat, Gianaris, Gibson, Hassel-Thompson, Hoylman, Kruger, Latimer, Marchone, Montgomery, Nozzolio, O'Brien, O'Mara, Parker, Peralta, Perkins, Rivera, Sanders, Serrano, Squadron, Stavisky, Stewart-Cousins, Kachik. Those absent from voting, Senators Felder and Sampson. Also, Senator Kennedy in the negative. Ayes 34, nays 27.
Bill is passed.